Righty, time's now 9:01. I'm going to call this Board of Public Works meeting to order. Today is Tuesday, April the 1st, 2025. I hope everyone is able to play a good April Fool's joke, which Nancy was able to try and get across here with our agenda.
Zero success.
Nancy, can you take roll, please?
Certainly. All four of our members are with us in the council chambers this morning. Andy Jones.
Present.
Rose Rivera.
Present.
Jamie Arce.
Present.
Ronnie Davis.
Present.
We have one member. Our president is not with us this morning, Mike Macklin, but we are a quorum. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved. Second.
Can I get all those in favor of the agenda? Wait, okay. I can't, I always get confused on if we approve yeah, okay, and can I get a motion to amend the agenda to include the following? We are going to remove in focus fiber needs assessment, and then add to new business after claims and allowance approval the following three items: the addendum with sign of the times, an economic development partnership grant with the Elkhart Grand Prix, and an economic development partnership grant with the Greater Elkhart Chamber of Commerce.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those in favor of the amended agenda signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Agenda is approved. Claims and allowance.
Mr. Chair, I would move that we approve the claims and allowance docket dated March 26, 2025, and in the amount of $4,463,783.56, consisting of 39 pages printed on March 26, 2025 at 10:21 a.m.
A motion.
Second.
And second. Ms. Coons is out. I will highlight a few things. First would be an installment for the Elkhart County Treasurer for our Humane Society interlocal agreement for $51,021.67. We have $401,273.93, which is part of our commercial liability insurance. And our pre-approved claims of $663,279.35 are routine and expected through claims and on the medical and pension-related things, and our American Rescue Plan claims of $111,028.70. So if the board has any direct questions, I'm happy to answer them or get questions, take questions back to staff for answers. All right, hearing none, all those in favor of approving the claims and allowance docket in the amount of $4,463,783.56 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Can I get a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes of March the 18th, 2025?
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion or edits? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Mr. Chair, I move that we authorize the board president to execute the professional services agreement with Carmi Design Group for the Fire Station 5 building assessment with fees not to exceed $5,000.
Second.
Motion and a second. Jeff?
Good morning, Jeff Schaefer, Assistant City Engineer. Fire Station number 5, as you may be aware, the fire department, or you may not be aware, the fire department is purchasing a new apparatus that does not fit inside the current building. And so we are doing an assessment to determine how to best do that. We were able to find the plans for the original building. However, there was a re-roof, or kind of an over-roof, placed on the building, probably in the 80s or 90s, I'm not quite sure, just looking at the age of the steel. And so we're not quite sure how that's framed. And so Carme Design Group, who recently did the Cleveland Township Fire Station building, we've requested them to come in to do an analysis to determine how that building is framed. Our expectation is the way it's framed, it will make the rest of the project pretty simple. We would then continue to retain them to do some final design work, create some construction documents, and then do the actual construction work to raise the doorways. So that is the intent of this agreement.
Great. I think it makes a lot of sense, and by my understanding is by raising the current building to allow for this, it helps us to forego a need to have to relocate the station for that exact purpose.
Yes, sir.
And then this will help to set us up for the next stages as part of the Public Works statute requirements for any improvements that come along, correct?
That's correct.
And this contrary to what the action we took last meeting with the design build of the salt shed, this will follow a different path, but this agreement with Carme will provide for the appropriate next steps, correct?
That's correct. We plan to do this as the design bid build delivery method, our standard delivery
All right,
method.
perfect.
Yep.
Board, any other questions?
No.
All right, hearing none, all those in favor of authorizing the board president to execute the professional service agreement with Carme Design Group for the Fire Station 5 building assessment with fees not to exceed $5,000, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Mr. Chair, I move that we temporarily convert Leland Avenue from two-way to one-way with a southeast travel direction starting as soon as feasible from the date of this action and ending on September 30, 2025, unless extended by the Board of Public Works.
And a motion?
Second.
And a second.
Good morning, Board. This action was actually requested last year. One of the residents, her home actually fronts on Beardsley, and her garage is on Leland. But one of the residents asked if we could look at making Leland one-way. The street itself is only about 16 feet in width. It's very narrow, 16 to 18 feet in width. And the houses that face on Leland, most of them do not have alley access. Leland is a large alley, basically. And so the residents for the 4 or 5 houses that are on Leland park on the street. And so there have been some concern with vehicles backing around, potentially hitting vehicles, that sort of thing. So this request came to us from one of the residents. We asked her to knock on some doors and get some feedback, which she did. And then earlier this year, we also sent out a letter to gather feedback. And all that feedback's in your packet. What we found out initially is our first thought was that Leland Avenue, if it was one way, should be northbound. The residents in the neighborhood did not agree with that. They told us how silly we were, which is good. Always good to be told that. And the preference from the residents is that if it was one way, it should be southbound. There were some concerns raised whether or not it needs to be changed. There were other concerns that thought this would be great because there are residents who think they're speeding going northbound. There's residents who don't. As you might expect, you hear that in every neighborhood. And so that's why we're bringing you, kind of similar to what we did on the situation with Arcade earlier this year, a temporary solution. We'd like to test this solution out, allow us to gather some resident feedback, and then come back to you in September with a long-term resolution here. And that has been shared via email with all the residents for whom we have contact information. I think we've sent out 11 different emails. We notified a number of residents. There's a little map in there that shows you even over on Christiana Street and Crawford Street. So I think we have a pretty good cross-section of the people in the area. And we'll probably also do some door hangers to remind people as this is implemented. So that's our suggestion. Again, based on kind of the mixed feedback, though, I think the feedback does kind of land on the one-way is something people would like to test, and the southbound or the southeastbound is the way to go. So based on that feedback, we'd like to go ahead and do this test with your permission.
Thanks, Jeff. That makes a lot of sense. In reading some of the feedback, the reason for the south or the kind of the southwest piece was to eliminate the workaround to not have to go Beardsley to, is it Edwardsburg?
Yeah.
And remove some of that cut through, which in thinking through, it makes a lot of sense to go that direction. Will this change how residents in that area park? Will it still be same, like, is there any restrictions on the parking? Are they able to park on both sides of the street currently, and this will just enhance that?
Right now, all the parking is on the east, kind of northeast side
Okay.
of the street, which is where the houses are. We have had a little bit of feedback there, and we're prepared to act on that. One of the residents who has some mobility issues was a little bit concerned because if she parks going southeast, she'll be opening her door to the tree lawn, which can sometimes be muddy and messy in the winter. What we've talked about is actually doing some short sidewalks across the tree lawn to help people with that situation. So that's something we're also going to explore this summer if that's a need. But yeah, our expectation would be a little bit of a reverse parking where you would park on the left side of the street as you went southbound. Our concern with parking on the right side of the street is those who do have driveways and garages would be backing out that direction and potentially backing into cars. We do expect the parking. It feels like a situation where all the neighbors are pretty respectful of the other neighbors and leave them their space, that sort of thing. So we don't think that's going to be a big issue.
And I guess if we end up making this permanent, will it provide additional space for parking based on the lane width, or is that not going to be we're only dealing with it because of the way the cars have to pass each other, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. This won't actually create any additional parking.
And this will just be signage as the additional cost.
Yep.
Okay.
Correct.
Great. I think it's a nice addition and serves the residents. Board, any questions? All right, hearing none, all those in favor of temporarily converting Leland Avenue from one-way to two-way, from two-way to one-way, sorry, with a southeast travel direction, starting as soon as feasible from the date of this action and ending on September the 30th, 2025, unless we extend it, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Chair, I move that we declare an emergency and ratify the selection of Selge Construction as a contractor to assist with the sanitary sewer repair at the 400 block of River Bend Drive.
Second.
Motion and second, discussion.
Board members, late last week on the 400 block of Riverbend Drive, there was a new house that is under construction. This is in the Lexington Landing neighborhood. There was a new house that was under construction as the contractor went to reach the sewer main. All of a sudden, we had a weird blockage. We had weird stuff coming into the lift station. And the challenge we then found is as we tried to dig down to find the sewer main and repair it, we couldn't keep up with the groundwater. Both working with the private contractor and our crews, we just didn't have the equipment needed to do that. So we'd like to declare emergency and ratify the selection. Selge Construction was brought in. They had equipment available to help us with groundwater removal. That work was done. There were roots that were wrapped around the pipe that when the pipe was slightly disturbed, cracked the pipe open. So the repair has been completed, but we'd like you to formalize the declaration of emergency.
Great. I don't have any questions, board. All right. All those in favor of declaring an emergency and ratifying the selection of Selge Construction as a contractor to assist with sanitary sewer repair at the 400 block of Riverbend Drive signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Mr. Chair, I move that we ratify partial payment request number 21 in the amount of $18,111 to C&E Excavating from SRF Loan WW221-62005 for construction on the Oakland Avenue Force Main Phase A project.
Motion.
Second.
And a second. Tori.
Morning, just standard process, board, for the SRF payments.
Happy with the work so far? Going as smooth as we can expect?
We would be happy if the private utilities would get out of the way so we could start the work.
Yeah. Private utility, anybody from the private utilities, please acquiesce to our needs and move it along, please. All right, thanks, Tori. All those in favor of ratifying partial payment request number 21 in the amount of $18,111 to C&E Excavating, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the final pay application to Viking Painting LLC for painting the Benham Water Tower in the amount of $90,118.64.
Got a motion?
Second.
And a second. Laura?
Good morning.
Morning.
Benham is finally wrapped up, and we're ready to pay him and be done with this project.
Great. Happy with it? How it turned out, I assume? We haven't heard any grumblings?
Yes. Let's say yes.
Guess I'll have to look, I guess I'll have to look up the next time I go by there.
Yeah, once it's open, right? Once we're able to.
This is the water tower.
this-
It's
yeah.
been in service?
Right, yeah, no, I mean, in
So-
terms of our ability to drive by it right now is
Oh, yeah.
impeded. Yeah.
A little awkward right now.
So, all righty. Thank you, Laura. All those in favor of approving the final pay app for Viking Painting LLC in the amount of $90,118.64 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the 2025 spring water main flushing schedule.
Motion,
Second.
second. Martin?
Hi, Martin Offsinger, Utility Network Engineer. This is just a annual process, after the winter with the lower volumes. Directional flush our water mains to make sure the water's clear. We remove any kind of sediment or anything that could be inside the pipe. Process to do so.
Perfect. Same old, same old. Well, so residents will see some on-street flooding, standard spring
Yes,
stuff.
some discoloration, run cold water until it clears up.
And we'll also see it in our homes, if I recall, potentially,
Potentially, yes.
because of all that agitation that's being created. Great. Good work. Any questions, support? All right, hearing none. All those in favor of approving the 2025 spring water main flushing schedule signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Mr. Chair, I move that we grant permission to bid and advertise bid number 25-13 for bulk chemicals for water and wastewater treatment.
Got a motion?
Second.
Second. Standard, Laura?
It will be. I would like to ask that this be tabled to the next meeting. There
Okay.
was some miscommunication, and it was not supposed to be on the agenda until the
Okay.
next meeting.
All right. Thank you.
I guess I withdraw my motion.
Oh, no, I think motion to table is fine.
Yeah.
Second.
Wait,
Oh,
yeah.
okay. I
You
guess
gotta-
I move to table, and there's a
I
second.
second it.
All right, all those in favor of tabling the motion as entertained, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, It's been tabled. Next meeting, Laura? Or future? For a future meeting. All right.
Okay.
Pretreatment.
I move that, for discussion purposes, we find BD Industries permit number 88-03 in violation of their industrial wastewater discharge permit limit for lead and assign a penalty of $500.
Motion.
Second.
Second. Steve.
Good morning, Board. Steve Brown, Public Works and Utilities. What we have today is a lead exceedance for BD Industries. Pretreatment staff conducted a routine monitoring event back in January. And the sampling results from that collected composite sample showed an exceedance for lead of 1.45 milligrams per liter. Once we found out the exceedance, we notified BD Industries, informing them of the exceedance, and then we also sent the sample to a contract lab to verify our results. And the results from from our lab and the contract lab, with the result of 1.43 milligrams per liter. So initially, before the pretreatment inspector set the sampler, they did an equipment blank, and the equipment blank showed no metals, or all the metals were below detection. So the Enforcement Response Plan recommends a $250 penalty for discharging wastewater containing parameters in excess of established limits. Also, with violations exceeding 20% of the limit, there's an additional penalty of $250 for a total recommended penalty of $500.
Was the, have we had reasonable or expected response from BD on correcting this, and we're comfortable with their solutions?
We did receive a couple responses. BD Industries did some investigating on their own, and unfortunately they can't find a source of the exceedance for lead. Historically with BD Industries, in the past they've had a violation for chrome and a violation for pH, and this I don't understand, and BD Industries doesn't understand why lead is an issue, but the proof is in the pudding.
Sure, but at least we're working in a collaborative way to make sure that they're getting things to where they need to be, right?
Yes. We did collect their sample early March, and the results came back, and they're back in compliance. No issues with lead.
Board, do you have any questions for Steve? Is there anyone from BD present online or in the audience that would like to participate? As a reminder, if you're online, you'll need to be both seen and heard, and you can let the clerk know if you want to participate, and she'll work to remove your mute. All right, it appears that we have nobody that wants to participate regarding this. All those in favor of finding BD Industries permit number 88-03 in violation of their industrial wastewater discharge permit and assess Ein for lead and assign a penalty of $500 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Mr. I move that we approve the attached update to Section 7.0 of the Guide to Wastewater Utility Policies.
Second?
Motion a second. Brian?
Good morning, Board. So we are trying to update our wastewater utility policy. I think we've talked with the board a couple of different times now about the need for our significant industrial users to do what's called flow proportional sampling. With that flow proportional sampling, basically we want to make sure that when we are setting up a sampler that samples over time, that the water we're pulling out of there is proportional to how much water they're discharging, right? And that requires a discharge meter. So with this policy, we are really seeking to establish how we determine where flow proportional sampling is required. So, for example, in situations where the discharge is very regular, so if we say they're always discharging around 10,000 gallons an hour, obviously it doesn't matter. It does not matter. It does not matter if we have a meter there, if we know that it's always 10,000 gallons an hour. So they can save quite a bit of cost. So what we're trying to do with this policy is just get all that stuff written down on how we determine something's nice and consistent and a good candidate for not needing the meter. While we were in there doing this section, we cleaned up some additional language just to remove some redundant things in there and things that weren't really necessary.
Great. When we're talking about the metering component, is that a cost to us or a cost to the business that needs to be monitored?
That is a cost to the business that needs to be monitored. Short term, there are some pretty cheap options for that flow monitoring. There are devices that can be installed within their, basically you got to get down into your control manhole and you shove this thing inside there. In short term, that's a fine solution, but those devices tend to need a considerable amount of upkeep, like every day going and cleaning them. And while those devices are on the cheaper side, a more permanent structure that is adequate for the flow monitoring is a considerable expense for our industries.
And I guess on to that note, is there a timeline in which we're expecting them to become compliant with this, or is this a requirement to have that?
We have been working with our industries for almost a year now, trying to get them to install these devices. We have given them a deadline of this June, I believe, to have those devices in place. We've already kind of been working with some of our industries on how some of them might qualify for exemptions, but we did feel it was really important before we sort of signed off on those exemptions to have a written policy in place. So we're all on the same page and we're being very consistent with our industries.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And knowing that this is kind of trailing conversations that have already been initiated for quite some time with the industries, and that we're not taking them by surprise on it is helpful too. I don't have any other questions. Board, do you have anything? All right. All those in hearing no more questions. Brian, do you have anything else you want to add?
No, thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. All those in favor of approving the update to Section 7 of the Guide to Wastewater Utility Policies as described, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the Laredo Agreement between the City of Elkhart, Department of Law, and Elkhart County Recorder for online access to the county's real estate records.
Second?
Motion and second.
Hi,
You're not John.
I am not. I have two Laredo agreements, the first one being for city legal, and that one they are signing up for or continuing the Section A or Option A that's a minimum charge of $60 a month for up to 250 minutes. So there was a slight increase on that. And that's why the county is requiring a new contract.
Maggie, do you know on the limiting, does it just, if the Department of Law gets to minute 251, does it, once the 250 minutes expires, does it go away? Oh, no, there's a 20 cent per minute overage. I just saw my answer to my question. So that happens regardless. So and I presume if we have other departments that need to have access, is there a way to piggyback off of, like, let's say, for example, this agreement with, for the Department of Law at the Package A pricing, do other departments have the ability to be included as part of this, or would they need to come and have their own agreement at that same package?
I believe they could make a request to the Department of Law to look something up.
Okay.
This is usually to get deeds, recorded
Sure,
documents.
sure. Well,
So I would think certainly they could. Actually, I just had a conversation with Corporation Counsel about this because the next item on the agenda is the Public Works one, and we were concerned that the Public Works contract was paid for by the utilities, and we don't
Sure.
want to
we want
cross that line.
We want
right?
clear, but yeah.
But as far as this one, I would imagine the appropriate thing
Okay.
to do. Although I would think the permit center might have.
A similar,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would think so.
yeah. I was
I
just
think they-
wondering.
Because
think-
I'm thinking about everybody. Do
I think they put one in already with the safety board for theirs.
Okay.
Yeah, Amy put one through already for them.
I was just wondering if there were, one-off departments that may need infrequent
occasional.
access, but didn't want to ask that access to be, that information to be, to have legal staff have to get it, if they would be able to just be added on to this, piece, or
right.
if they would need another a standalone agreement.
I would think they would need another agreement, just because of the whole password issue.
Yep.
But it might be easier if it's just an occasional for them to reach out to either the permit center or to
So
legal.
an existing license holder and ask them to get it.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Maggie. Board, any questions? All right, all those in favor of approving the Laredo agreement between the City of Elkhart Department of Law and the Elkhart County Recorder for online access to the county's real estate records signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign, motion passes.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the attached agreement in order for the Elkhart County Recorder to provide online access to real estate records for Public Works.
Second.
A motion, a second. Same thing, just the unlimited plan, right?
Correct. We use it a lot.
We don't have to wait till 9 PM to be able to call friends and families without being charged.
That kind of dates you.
Yeah, well, does it?
I think so. I know what you're talking about, but I don't know if everybody else does.
Probably very generational, that's for sure. All right, yeah. All right, all those in favor of approving the agreement with the Elkhart County Recorder and Elkhart Public, and the Department of Public Works, with Laredo signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Mr. Chair, I move that we grant the Fifth Infrastructure Project Supervisor, permission to quote Property Management Services, RFQ number 25-05.
Second.
Motion a second.
Aye. I'm pinch hitting for Jacob this morning. This is a regular agreement that for properties that are owned by the Redevelopment Commission. As you can see, basically, to keep them mowed, keep them clean, and keep them tidy. So this will be sent out as a request for quote and then brought back to you to approve the contracts.
Thank you, Jeff. Board, any questions? All right, hearing none, all those in favor of granting permission to quote RFQ 25-05 for property maintenance services signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Mr. Chair, I move that we accept the communication of notice of redevelopment commission public hearings, May 13, 2025.
Second.
Motion a second. Discussion, any discussion? I assume that this is standard process.
Maggie Marnoka, I'm also the secondary attorney for redevelopment. This is just part of the process. They have to notify the board.
Do we know what
There's a notice.
is this in regards to what?
Oh, boy.
So we're moving parcels from allocation area number 1 and
7.
creating allocation area number 8. So looks like we're creating allocation areas 7 and 8 in the downtown TIF and removing them from allocation area 1, which is the primary. So I think my recollection is that these are all part of the River District projects that are going on for zones 2 and 3 or 1 and 2 or something. All right.
So it's just part of the process
Yep.
for the board to accept the notice.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Maggie. Board, any questions? All right. All those in favor of accepting notice of the public hearing for the Redevelopment Commission to occur on May the 13th, 2025 at 4 p.m. here in this space, signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the 2025 municipal band agreement in the amount of $65,000.
Motion, second.
So this is an agreement that we engage in annually. The Elkhart Municipal Band provides free public concerts and performances throughout the city and the county every year, and we at the city.
Yep. And I'll just add that this is incorporated as part of the annual budget process and has been, as Rose stated, a longstanding relationship that we've had. Board, any other questions or statements, I guess? All right, all those in favor of approving the municipal band agreement in the amount of $65,000 for 2025 signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the Tyler Technologies Encode accounting software in the amount of $1,250.
Second.
Motion and a second. I don't believe I see IT here, but my understanding of what is going on is as part of the in the clerk's office, they are needing to have some transfer of some, I guess it's server migration services. And the clerk will be covering the costs, and this is a one-time migration fee. Oh, is he? Oh, I thought that was maybe summer. All right. Scott, do you want to add anything? If you do, you can. Just need to see you.
Board. Yeah, this is a contract with Tyler Technologies to move some data from an old server to a new one. This is historical data used by the clerk's office to look up old court cases. It's a one-time cost of $1,250 and no reoccurring costs. And the clerk's office is going to pay for this.
Perfect. Thank you. Board, any questions? All right, hearing none. All those in favor of approving the agreement between Tyler Technologies and the City of Elkhart for a cost of $1,250 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Same sign. Motion passes. Thank you, Scott.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the
I
change.
think we just accept the communication. I don't know that we need to approve it.
Okay. We could do that.
Yeah.
That we accept the communication regarding the approval process of the claims and allowance docket.
Second.
Got a motion, a second. So from a discussion purposes, the Controller's Office and the Department of Law have been working to appropriately segregate the claims and allowances dockets and contract approvals to the appropriate boards. And as part of that, we feel it best aligns with the will of the council when they split the Board of Public Safety and the Board of Public Works into two separate boards, that those responsibilities also should have migrated at that time. And so beginning on the April 22nd meeting for the Board of Safety and our meeting that precedes that, the claims and allowances that are related to the police department, the fire department, the 911 communications dispatch, and the code enforcement, for all intents and purposes, those departments that are controlled by the Board of Safety versus the Board of Public Works, their claims and allowance dockets will be now approved at those boards. So this is just notice to let us know that we'll see a decline in the value of that we will be approving, and on the flip, the Board of Safety will now be getting their own distinct packet. So where my team's working with the departments that are impacted should be pretty limited on their impact on how they're entering in stuff, and we haven't heard any real concerns regarding it as part of our collaboration with them. Any questions?
It's been a while since so the Board of Safety is over police, fire, and comm?
Yeah, and
building?
Building and zoning, yeah.
Okay. But
Yeah,
there's
code
still
enforcement.
there's a merit board too, right?
Correct.
And that's separate.
Merit is for other purposes, hiring and
Okay.
discipline.
All right, great. Thanks.
Yep. All right. Hearing no other discussion, all those in favor of accepting communication from the city controller regarding the transition of claims and allowance approval from the Board of Works to the Board of Safety signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Same sign. Motion passes. All right.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the addendum with signs of the times. It looks like this is being changed due to the fact that 50% down payment wasn't clearly defined in the original contract.
Okay. Got a motion.
Second.
Second.
Maggie Marnoka again. As part of the original contract, the quote stated 50% down, and in order for the city to be able to do that, we have to include certain things in the contract, and that's what this addendum does. so that then we can go ahead and follow the terms and give them 50% down.
Great. Thanks for working with Alex on this, Maggie.
It was really a good experience because now I have the form that we need to attach to any contracts moving forward if someone needs to get paid
Great.
upfront. Yep.
Great. And this didn't change the total cost. It was just
Nothing.
allowing for us to be able to pay the advance payment of up to 50% that statute and local ordinance allows for. So, great. All right. All those in favor of ratifying the addendum to contract with the Sign of Times to allow for 50% payment, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. All right. Next up, I'll entertain a motion to approve the Economic Development Partnership Grant between the City of Elkhart and the United States Auto Club, I believe, the race for the Grand Prix,
So moved.
for $50,000.
So moved.
Motion, second. So this, similar to the municipal band, is an ongoing relationship that the city budgets for annually to assist in the Grand Prix occurring here in the city. And it comes at the mayor's direct request.
Of course,
Questions?
this is something I support. I just didn't see what the total budget for the event is. I saw certain things. I was just curious to know how much what their total is, like what Thor, I know what they used to commit and the others. Just curious. I can find out later.
Oh, and maybe, I think that's a good point, Andy, that maybe we should start beginning to, if we're not already, including a total event budget as part of some of these.
Because I know it's a lot more than 50,000.
Yeah, it's
Thor used to do 30, I thought, but that may have grown, and then, there were other
the
sponsorships.
other sponsorships and
I'm sure it's over 100,000 for the whole thing. I'm well over that, I'll bet.
whatever the entry fees are for the racers to be able to participate in
Yeah.
everything, which is uniquely different than the partnership grants that we have with the
Yeah.
band to provide a
And USAC, I
free-
think, yeah,
free
they
service.
recruit sponsors also that are, not local, that are, other
very
things.
very
Just
similar
curious.
to EFI with the Jazz Fest, right? All right, any other questions? All right, hearing none. All those in favor of approving the Economic Development Partnership Grant in the amount of $50,000 for the Elkhart Grand Prix signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. I'll entertain a motion to approve the Economic Development Partnership Grant in the amount of $50,000 between the City of Elkhart and the Greater Elkhart Chamber of Commerce.
This-
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Similar scenario here where this has been an ongoing support of the chamber and is included as part of the 2025 budget. All right, any questions? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the Economic Development Partnership Grant between the City of Elkhart and the Greater Elkhart Chamber of Commerce in the amount of $50,000 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Public participation. Anybody in the public, either presently here or online, that would like to comment? All right, seeing none, close public participation and entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Moved and seconded. We're adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.